Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Breakdown. We've got a little bit to talk about tonight, but I have a feeling it's probably going to get a little bit spicy once we're joined by Politico. Sarah Biggs, she's just finishing up a little bit of a snack, I'm told. When she's done, she'll be joining us shortly. But in the meantime, in between time, it's we get a little bit of a break in more ways than one. So first of all, right out of the gates, this is going to be our last show for about a week. We're going to take a little bit of a break over the Christmassy break side of things, just because we've been working so very hard over the last little bit. We're going to be back next Wednesday on the 28th of December, but we're going to give ourselves a little bit of a Christmas holiday space because it's been a bit of a year. But before we do that, there's a couple of things that we definitely need to talk about, starting with the fact that it's the end of session, much to a lot of people's surprise. A lot of people were expecting the legislature to still be sitting for another week. The UCP went ahead and decided, you know what? We're done. Late Thursday, they announced that they were adjourning the legislative session and that we were now going to be seeing a break. They're taking their Christmas break. They're taking their Christmas break a little bit early. Now, there's been a lot of teachers that have actually been weighing in on this and saying, hey, this kind of sucks because, we had a field trip planned and we were hoping the kids were going to be able to see the legislative session. But as you can see on the screen here, if you're watching on the live streams, it's over the course of an hour, they went from having sitting scheduled on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to a whole lot of just kidding. Now, this is where it gets a bit problematic, and some people are certainly saying a little bit hypocritical, because one of the things that the UCP did over this last session, especially when it came to a certain premier, certain signature bill, was there were a lot of time limitations placed on things. There's a lot of time limitations placed on debate because it's so important that the legislation be given the opportunity to not be at all addressed, I guess. There was a lot of the limitations placed on the debate in the first, second, and third reading of Bill 1, the Sovereignty Act. There were amendments that were made. Those amendments were giving shortened debate times. There was a lot of debate times that were limited. There were some pieces of legislation that are going to be carried over to the next legislative session. This is, it's pretty stunning. When we have Danielle Smith talking about how hard the UCP are going to be working for the people of Alberta, and then they go ahead and they give themselves an extra week of Christmas break. We did the math, and in this entire legislative session, since Danielle Smith took over as premier and as head honcho of the United Conservative Party, the legislature has sat for a grand total of, wait for it, 11 days before they needed a break. And then they took the holidays off. And that's the whole thing. Pretty sweet work week and a half if you can get it, I guess. But again, it just highlights the fact that one of the things that people are having to contend with this government is the fact that they will say one thing, they're going to work very hard for the people, and then they'll do another entirely, just kidding, we're clearing our schedule a week early. It's really quite problematic. And especially when one of the big criticisms that the UCP received from the NDP was, hey, you're introducing this major piece of legislation that is, deeply unconstitutional. There's a lot of people who have some, and rightfully so, have some very real concerns about what this thing is, and you're limiting all of the debate. You're not allowing for the time of the debate. So on one hand, the UCP super pressed for time. On the other hand, just kidding, got a flight to catch. And we do have a follow-up bit that we're going to be doing in a couple of weeks once, let's say, certain financial disclosures get put in, because there's some giggles to be had. Um, and we'll share those once the financial disclosures come out. But that's not the only thing that happened this week. A couple other things happened this week that we want to talk about before we get joined by Sarah Biggs. Next thing is the province's economist Char Chun provided this graph to the universe, where the provincial fiscal capacity and equalization payments for 2023-2024 numbers were released. And for those of you that are on the Twitter Spaces, I'll walk you through the graph. For those of you that are watching on the live stream, pretty simple. But the way that it works is you can see that there's that line that goes all the way across the top there that everybody's trying to aim for. And that's considered to be the fair, equitable amount that all provinces should be getting. And then you can see there's some provinces that are doing a little bit better than others. BC's doing okay. They're above the average. Newfoundland's doing okay, but head and shoulders in regards to earning capacity, once again, is the province of Alberta. Now, what this means for anybody who's unfamiliar is that, once again, Alberta is the province that has the ability to make the most money in Confederation. And we wanted to take this opportunity to just take a sec to remind everybody that equalization payments aren't a thing that Albertans make. They're a thing that those other provinces, so in particular, we're looking at Manitoba, we're looking at New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, the provinces that don't have the same ability to earn, they get money from the federal government. So equalization payments are not something that Albertans make. They're something that federal government makes to lift up the rest of the country. It's not a bad thing. But Alberta's not cutting a check for equalization payments. We just like to say that whenever we get the opportunity, because it's fun and it's so grossly misrepresented. So always. One more little story we're going to talk about right quick, and then we're going to hopefully have the Sarah, the F-bomb Biggs joining us. She's got a little bit of a reputation on the Twitter machine this week. And that story is, remember when Danielle Smith announced the biggest cabinet ever, when she swore the oath of office and she officially became Premier of Alberta? She announced her new cabinet, a lot of which was a continuation of the old cabinet, but a lot of which was also really big add-ons. It's been well documented that the cabinet that Danielle Smith created is the largest cabinet in living memory, or at least in the last 5 or 6 premiers. It's enormous. And there's a lot of different reasons why people have speculated why the cabinet might be so big. One of them is cabinet votes are whipped votes. So as much as Danielle Smith likes to say, you know what, my MLAs, they get free votes, that's technically true of the MLAs that aren't in cabinet. But the ones that are in cabinet, she gets to say, hey, so you'll be voting this way. And that's the end of the conversation. And when you take a look at how many UCP MLAs are in cabinet versus how many UCP MLAs are just kicking around the legislature, the numbers that we're talking about, it's almost 2/3 of the overall UCP caucus. There's more UCP MLAs in in cabinet than there aren't. So you have to have worked pretty hard to not be in cabinet, or maybe just be the MLA for Chestermere Strathmore and have called Danielle Smith out on multiple times for being a horrid human being. Then you don't get into cabinet either, it seems. But it seems like Danielle Smith wasn't done, because one of the things that we learned on Thursday at the very tail end of this legislative session that was cut short was, it wasn't even a news release. It wasn't even a press release. There was no press conference. There was no announcement. There was no mandate letter that was released. There was just the quiet change on the Government of Alberta website that announced that Tracey Allard had been named the Parliamentary Secretary for Civil Liberties on December 13th, 2022. And a lot of people were like, hey, so civil liberties, what's that exactly? What does that mean? And there were a few people who came up with some answers. There's a journalist named Charles Rusnell who was able to determine one of the key jobs that Tracey Allard is going to be doing is going to be advocating for the rights of the unvaccinated, because we need, in effect, associate minister to do that now, because that's a thing, I guess. It's worth noting as well that when we're talking about these cabinet positions, these are pay bumps. This isn't just, hey, I'm going to tag you in to do this extra stuff because you're a very good poodle. This is, you're getting a pay bump as well. I'm going to make sure that you are well compensated and you get extra staff and you get extra resources and you get all of these things for being all of these roles. So it's there's some debate as to whether or not and how much that pay bump is. But historically, when we're talking about ministers and associate ministers, there is a pay bump that's involved. So there's also a lot of extra resources. But Daniel Smith came out on your province, your premier. We tried to pull the audio today, but for some reason the website wasn't playing the audio for your province, your premier, for the hour that we were trying to get it. But Daniel Smith said a few things about what the role was going to be about. And one of the things that she said the role was going to be involved with is, no. What it's going to be is, and I'm paraphrasing here, what it's going to be is, we need somebody who, when the rest of cabinet is making rules, has a lens on, is everything that we're doing in alignment with the charter? We need that person. So that's what her job is going to be. It's going to be to make sure that any rules that we make are in alignment with the charter, which has some fascinating implications out of the gate. So the first question that you might ask is, what is Tracey Allard's legal background? We couldn't find any. As per her Wikipedia page, she does have some extra training in macroeconomics, I think it was. Let me pull it up here so I'm getting it right for you. She does have some post-secondary education in macroeconomics and I believe it was disability management. But in regards to the experience that she brings to the table from a civil rights standpoint, there is exactly nothing. So most qualified person for the job or something. The other piece of it that's particularly telling, if the UCP is saying, hey, you know what, we need to make sure when we're drafting legislation that we're not violating the charter, we're not violating anybody's civil liberties, the implication is that for the last session, they weren't doing that. And of course, as many critics will say, taking a look at the Sovereignty Act, yeah, they weren't doing that. So that's fun. That's a thing that happened in Alberta politics. Last story that I want to talk about before hopefully we're able to bring in Sarah Biggs is we went and had ourselves a nomination race in the province of Alberta, and it wasn't a small one. There were some very high-profile people that were involved in there. I am, of course, talking about the nomination race in Chestermere Strathmore. There were two candidates. Couldn't be more different by most measures. And it was allegedly going to be a very tight race. There were some problems with the way, there were some concerns with the way that the race was set up. This is, of course, Leela Here's old constituent. She still represents it, but she said she's not running there again. And one of the things that came up in this this nomination race was we had somebody who was reportedly backed by Take Back Alberta, and of course, there's some problems there. But there's also some very, 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 very right-wing elements to this candidate. There's been some concerns about her stance on women's access to healthcare. There's certainly been a very, let's go with fundamentalist approach to things and stuff. So you know, when a certain dark reality universe parallel upside down version of Caillou. Angry Caillou is in your corner. It's kind of a red flag in a lot of ways. Well, she crushed it. She absolutely crushed it. 1,200 votes were cast, or sorry, there was the vote was 1,200 for her, 600 for her opponent. So the UCP have themselves a spicy little nomination candidate in Chestermere Strathmore, who comes with all kinds of fascinating baggage. You know, there were a lot of people who were surprised when Mr. Bexley got his credentials for the legislature from the Speaker of the House, Nathan Cooper. A lot of people kind of were like, whoa, what happened there? It's going to be fascinating to see how long it takes him to become a press secretary if the UCP form government again. That's the rundown of the stories right there. So that being said, I'm hoping that we have maybe have a Sarah Biggs, but if we don't, in the meantime, while we're waiting for a Sarah Biggs, let's go ahead and I'll say, oh, there we go. We've got a Sarah Biggs.
I'm here.
Hey, Sarah.
I've been here for a long time.
Well, but you were all like darked out, so I didn't know if you were like beating someone in the background or trying to carve up a body or just swearing.
No, my mother-in-law listens. Like, I can't. Merry Christmas.
We got candy canes, we got gingerbread, we got Santa.
I stole the sweater from my husband's.
Well, I think I have an ugly Christmas sweater upstairs. I should have worn it.
And I was listening to Parliamentary Secretaries don't get pay bumps. Just saying.
Okay, there we go. What do they get?
I texted you.
Do they get like a business card?
Yeah. And, you know, a special medal.
There we go. Little highlight.
They get to be in a circle.
But they are still whipped votes.
Yeah.
So she gets a title, a fancy business card, and Danielle Smith gets to chalk up another one as a guarantee.
And I know we said don't look at the comments, but I see it's asking if here is gone. No, she's going to finish her term. Yeah. There's that.
There we go. Okay. Sir Biggs, let's start at the top. You and I had a conversation about this earlier in the week. So we had the UCP limiting debate on the Sovereignty Act. They rammed through it. And you were talking last week. You were saying they're ramming through a bunch of legislation. I think something's up. And I was like, there's no way they'd be that arrogant. And you were right. They will be that arrogant. So they ended the session. They didn't prorogue. They were just like, you know what? We're done everything that we wanted to do. The people of Alberta need nothing more from us with the scheduled time that we promised them. Let's go. Let's all go to Hawaii. What's your take? Is that a normal thing?
It shows how unprepared they were. They had some so they had some very, elements of legislation that they really, 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 really wanted to get through. Bill 1, Bill 6, the police thing. Then the rest was pretty much just housekeeping items. Like, it was just, what was it? Last Tuesday when I messaged you and I was like, they just introduced a bill for like housekeeping items and everybody voted in favor. And I was like, whoa, we're going on Christmas break a week early. And then everybody was like, no, they have too much to do. And I was like, no, they call them the housekeeping items. Amendment Statutes Act. It's like the last bill usually that is being presented. And Bill 1 was signed as law now by the LG. So, she wanted one thing done and she got it done. The rest.
It's wild that we had an entire legislative session in effect to get Bill 1 done, and then peace. We've got chicken milk and fruitcake to get to.
Yeah.
That was an eggnog joke. You've ruined it for me, by the way. I'm incapable of walking past a carton of eggnog without reading the French thing for the French side, and you have scarred me. I don't know how I made it 46 years without finding out that the en français eggnog is chicken milk, which is also conjured up a variety of
But
deeply
it's just
unsettling visuals.
she prorogued the legislature for 3 weeks because usually they were set to return. Do I have my little book here?
It wasn't even prorogued, though. It was just they were done.
Technically, no. I'm talking in the beginning of the session.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
They just let me see here. I don't have it. Where is it? I have my transition Bible. Where is it? Okay, hold on for a second. No, I can't show it because it's classified. Okay, so usually the session was supposed to come back on 31st. Technically, the government, she could have appointed the ministers, and she could have it wasn't a matter of having enough votes. It was just a matter of, no, she wanted to get elected. So she called a by-election that did not need to get called. Oh, and by the way, good people of Medicine Hat, sorry, I'm just going to say something. Al Brown has passed yesterday, and he was a big PC organizer, and he was a good man. And yeah, I'm really sad that he's gone because he had a lot of insights and he had good advice for their youngings around.
There we go.
It's very unfortunate. But so she prorogued till 28th? 22nd? 28. Because everything's about Danielle Smith. Everything is about Danielle Smith. If Danielle Smith can't have it, well, why will the province benefit from it? Like, as a government, there's a lot of, so she drained AHS. She introduced a new conduct code for teachers. She introduced Bill 1. She rented some portable offices for the Children's Hospital. And apparently she sat for tea with, treaties. So.
Yeah, they were big fans of that.
Yeah. It's that was a big medal.
When the Treaty 6 chiefs issue a press statement saying, yeah, we know we sat down with you, but it was not that. Also, you suck.
No, it's like meet the parents the first time.
Yeah, well,
it's awkward. But there's so many things that we need to take care of right now as a province, and there's a lot of debate that should have happened. The provincial police thing should have never gone through. It's a financial pit. It's, it shouldn't even be a thing. It's not that we're going to slap a different tag on someone's hat and it's going to make it more efficient. The RCMP is having issues recruiting at the salaries that they're offering with the full pension. Are we going to have problems recruiting for the Alberta provincial police?
Well, especially given the expanded mental health criteria that they're going to be demanding of the Alberta Provincial Police Force, where they're going to be effectively social workers with guns. That'll go well.
I can tell you from, it doesn't work.
Doesn't surprise me. So we had an early end of session. I guess they all had wonderfully, probably warm places that they needed to be. I think you just muted yourself, Sarah. Yeah. Sarah's audio has stopped for inexplicable reasons, so I'll just keep plugging away. I don't know what happened there. That was super weird. But she's gonna pop out and then she's gonna come back in and join us again. But yeah, so they shut the legislature down early. I'm gonna take this opportunity for the collapse of Sarah's stuffs to try to
Hi.
There we go. You're back.
I'm back. No, I just really wish we could have had more for our money. It's disappointing considering looking at all of the issues that we are dealing in the province right now, how not so concerned the political class is right now.
Well, it's not like there's trailers parked outside of the children's hospital, a healthcare crisis, or major delays to medical procedures, or a
No,
opioid epidemic.
nothing.
It's all
It's business as usual, right?
it's all pretty normal.
We just need to pull ourselves by our bootstraps.
What do you make of the Allard piece? That was weird, right? Like, it's weird for somebody to get appointed, added to cabinet, and absolutely nothing said about it. Like, that was when Mr. Rusnell broke that story on Thursday. All props to him.
I was like, what the?
I saw that tweet too, and I was like, wait, what? They just made a new cabinet person. They didn't say anything. That was very, very surprising to me. That's not normal, right?
No. So we all remember how she said that she, at one of her first press conferences, she said that, sorry, there's a little bit of RSV going in our house right now. So she said that she wanted to make sure that the unvaccinated for COVID-19 specifically to be included in the Alberta Human Charter of Rights, or whatever, which one she picked.
The Human Rights Act.
Yeah, Human Rights Act. And she wanted to make sure that they were protected. And everybody was like, no. And then probably a staffer in the background was like, but I have an idea. Just watch me. People, they won't see. They weren't. Okay, so here's the thing. Somebody in that office sat down and was like, no, they're too dumb. They won't figure it out. Well, guess what? We did. Everybody did.
How does that, like, again, I go back to why is it that there was no announcement? Like, if this was a PR move for the Freedom folks,
yeah,
why didn't we see Danielle Smith go full Mel Gibson Braveheart style? Freedom.
She does not do well with criticism. Have we noticed that yet?
I've picked up it's hard because I'm blocked.
I'm not. And I don't know how. And she's not a fan of me. But what's interesting is that they did a sneak attack, like Appa would say in Kim's convenience store. Sneak attack. It's a sneak attack. It's a sneaky move. She wanted to make sure that she still give them a little piece of something, but she could not go in front of the cameras and try to explain it. They're keeping her away. That's what they're doing right now. They're just, it's not being announced. It's not a big deal. Yet, that crowd will find out. They will make their own interpretation of that. Because
Isn't it inevitable, though, that Danielle Smith at some point is going to pop her head out for a press conference that's not a controlled radio show environment, and there's going to be a reporter who says, hey, so that was weird?
I don't think we're going to see her a lot for the next 3 months until the throne speech is being thrown out.
Really?
The last session was quite spicy and quite unscripted, and they had to spin a lot of stuff. Like, a lot. I feel bad. Like, the comm staff had to work extremely hard to try to spin a lot of squirrels. I don't think we're going to see much of her in the next few months. I'm willing to be wrong. I'm hoping I'm wrong. But they're going to make sure that she stays on script. She has 4 months left. There's 25 undecided, 25% undecided.
And it's worth.
Is she going to be able to convert them? No, she won't be.
I'm just looking at the calendar here for the next legislature. It looks like it's going to convene on February 7th, and then it runs.
Well, if they don't push it.
If they don't push it, it runs to the end of March with 3 1-week breaks in there for reasons, I guess.
It's constituency week.
Is that the 20th to the 24th or the March break?
Yeah. No, so when there's a week break during what we call constituency weeks, so the MLAs are going back in their riding.
Okay.
Yeah. But again, very, very short session. How can we have proper representation, healthy debates, healthy legislative processes when legislative sessions are so short? How? With all of our very, very, very personal agenda, because we have not seen everything yet. Like, this session was light. But again, they're pulling. I think that the best thing for the UCP right now is to keep Danielle Smith away from the cameras for a while. Like, RSV is going down. Well, no, not in Calgary. It's all the way up. But, hopefully there won't be another bump of COVID. Wait times in the hospitals are about 2 hours. A lot of obstetrics being closed everywhere in rural Alberta, but who cares, right? That's not a problem. Because, when you're at 10 centimeter and ready to push, you're on Highway 2, it's not necessarily comfortable. I don't know. It's a very, very poor exercise of parliamentary process.
Fair enough.
It's upsetting.
So what do you make? I mean, we saw there was Mr. Russell confirmed, and to be clear, Mr. Russell is, when it comes to the quality
He's
of
solid
that gets done, he is rock solid. He confirmed that part of her mandate was to be doing the vaccine piece. The Danielle Smith I found the quote. That's what I was looking for here. Danielle Smith had a question about this on Your Province, Your Premier. Like I said, I was trying to get the audio, but the global website wasn't playing that episode for some reason for me. Would play a couple of the other ones, so I don't know what was going on. But she said, there's a whole range of things that came up in this fall session, and it seemed to me having a parliamentary secretary focused on property and civil rights would allow for her to give us some advice on how we might be able to address these in legislation. And as we go forward, if there are bills that are passing, just having someone with the lens of saying, is this making sure that we're protecting all of the rights that are protected in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms? I think that's going to be important. So I'm looking forward. She's looking forward to working with Tracey Allard on that. So here's my question. That seems to me to be a bit of a tacit admission that, we weren't doing that. Like, isn't that a part of the process of drafting of bills?
It's already. Oh my God. A lot of people skip their poli-sci classes. I'm having in the nerdism. Like, it is the role of everybody in government, public servants, ministers, the Attorney General, like Minister of Justice. Everybody needs to do a lot of checks and balances to make sure that bill is kosher. Because if it doesn't pass the sniffs test, usually you don't present it. But I'm having a hairball. But it's a poor excuse. We're not that dumb. Like, it's extremely frustrating because she takes for granted that a lot of people do not understand what the role and the purpose of a government is. And, again, we're going with personal experience that Danielle went through. She had to fly to the United States to get her Janssen vaccine. Her restaurants had capacity limits. The straws, it's very painful. It's everybody's prosecuted. And, like, we're not happy in this province. Like, we're martyrs.
Think of the
But
straws. Just take it. Should we have a moment for the straws that still aren't illegal yet?
It starts on Tuesday.
Well, I know, but that's like not yet. Rush out, people.
Go buy
to hell
straws.
with the sea turtles. To hell with the sea turtles. Go get your straws. Stop
I'm
by.
just really upset because it's misrepresenting, like, it's putting clown makeup on the roll. I do not know how owning a Tim Hortons in Prince Rupert.
2. She owns 2. As per Wikipedia.
Makes you, you can be familiar with the work, labor code, but freedom.
I mean, here's what my question really is. Do you think that this is a response to everybody saying, hey, Danielle Smith, you introduced that bill and it was a constitutional train wreck? There's a lot of people who say that it still is. I saw that Martin Olshinsky tweeted out a couple of court decisions that came down just a little while ago that basically say, hey, Sovereignty Act, enjoy that brief little taste of life that you have whilst you have it, because it literally invalidates the whole premise of the Sovereignty Act as it was finally presented, which is the watered down version. Is this her throwing out a fig leaf? I'm making fun of Tyler Shandro there. Is this her throwing out a fig leaf to say, hey, you know what? I get it. Constitutional civil rights matter. Sorry that I almost lit yours on fire. But look, Tracey Allard, she's going to make sure I don't do it again. I might even listen. Is that what this is?
Captain Freedom.
Captain Freedom. Is that what this is?
I think that it's a very, very, very performative role. And it's a waste of time. And it's a waste of resources. And it's a waste of everything, because the very, very role of a government is to put out legislation and measures that are, following the Charter of Rights.
I feel, and this is one of the reasons why I tripped on the Sovereignty Act as much as I did, because there are lawyers who work for the government. Shandro even came out and said, I wrote it based on what I was told to do. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. But
being told what to do.
Sure. But one would think, especially somebody who has no problem speaking his mind like the Justice Minister apparently does, he would have said, hey, so I think this might be wildly illegal. Those mechanisms do currently exist. And so giving a owner of a Tim Hortons the ability to, and I'm not being derogatory towards owners of Tim Hortons. I'm just saying you wouldn't want me making complex constitutional rulings because I would screw them up 7 ways of Sunday. That's not what I do. But it would seem to me that you wouldn't want that. What is she going to bring to the table that all of the lawyers that work for the government who aren't elected and very angry, what is she going to bring to the table that they're
nothing?
Okay,
nothing.
There's that. Then
it's like a check mark for the unvaccinated and be like, see, I got your back. And people are like, yeah, freedom. We have someone looking after our freedoms. It doesn't work like that.
Well, there was always supposed to be. And the vaccination, the Vax Pass or the mandates or whatever you want to call them, those were legal. That was not a violation of.
It is a goddamn pandemic, people. People are dying.
Oaks test.
Dying. 46 a week.
Oaks test.
COVID, it's going to affect our economy in 15 years because people will be disabled. How?
From there, let's get to the really spicy stuff, Sarah Biggs. Just from Strathmore.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Chantal de
De Jonge. Chantal de Jonge.
Okay.
The Jesus Gun and Babies candidate for Chestermere Strathmore.
The angry Caillou endorsed candidate.
Yeah. And, she was present at Daniel Smith rally too in Chestermere Strathmore when Daniel had a rally this summer. And, the candidate at her supporters were yelling at people of color at the AGM to pick the board this summer and make them go home. And then also the very same board that took over that started to spew anti-vax information and racist information and misinformation right, left, and center, and freedoms has won.
So here's the thing
normal.
I was thinking about today. I mean, in the land of, well, that's pretty far right, Chantal de Jonji is she's pretty far right. Does this open a window for the NDP in Chestermere Strathmore?
No, Leland won by 15. She won with 15,000 votes last time. It's not, the NDP performed at 16%. It's not going to do anything. But if I was the NDP, right now, I would be searching for a very, 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 very strong candidate for Chestermere Strathmore and maybe put a lot of resources behind it. But what do I know?
And like to do political strategy or anything.
Well, and get them to adapt the language to something more centrist, maybe slightly more conservative, but still with NDP talking points, but rechewed. So, they can try to make some damage. Because I swear to God, I personally, and Caillou can come after me for that one, I personally, I believe in democracy, but candidates like Chantal de Jonge with the people that is backing her up is not good for Alberta. It is not good for your kids. It is not good for anyone. It is not good for women's rights. It is not good for the healthcare system. I feel like I need to go back to my kitchen because I feel like we're falling back in 1950 all over again.
I have a joke that I want to make there, but I'm not going to because
do it. Do
well,
it.
It is the season for baking.
It is.
And
my husband does the baking. Yeah, chicken milk. My husband does all the baking.
I hope not in that fancy sweater though.
He has more.
Good for him.
Mr. Biggs loves a good Christmas sweater.
Well, it can turn into quite the eclectic little collection. I have I think 3, and they're all. I have one that's like actually an advent calendar, and I never wear that one out of the house because I'm terrified that people are just going to come up and start trying to open the advent calendar, and I just can't.
We have one from Nightman from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I'll
wear it. Okay.
There you go.
It's good.
Okay. Is there anything I'm missing this week? Like, it was really kind of, hey, peace, we're out. By the way, surprise, Allard is a minister, and Chestermere, welcome to the Lake Fire. I mean, that was. Those were...
Well, we know that Ms. Smith's going to go to Europe next year. Try to, get a picture with some German people and say, I stopped by and tried my best.
Everybody likes to get selfies when they travel.
It's such a complicated. We should dedicate a 15 minutes on that next year because it is a very, 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 very complicated fight. How do I know? I worked on it.
Oh, there we go. Well, we will make sure that we dedicate 15 minutes to that.
But it's very complicated. It's going to be like super performative. Everything, like, guys.
You're reading the comments again, Sarah Biggs. I told you to stop reading the comments.
No, I'm not reading the comments.
Face. Don't read the comments.
Okay, I'm gonna go like this. Okay.
I think maybe get some just duct tape over that side of the screen or something.
No, it's a brand new iMac.
Oh, tinsel! You could just hang some tinsel over the corner. It would be seasonal.
But then my cat's gonna eat it.
You're killing me here. I'm trying to solve problems. I'm taking the Daniel Smith loophole approach to things.
I'm looking that way. Here, how's that? But no, so people will be forgetting a lot of things that have been done the fall during over Christmas, because Christmas and the holidays and the electorate has a very, very, very short memory. We're going to see in a few weeks the impact on polling of, the measures that have been taken by the government to, relieve the inflation. We're going to see if the electorate took the bait or not. That's going to be important, because I think that's the NDP needs to pay close attention and figure out some messaging towards that, because I have concerns. I really do.
Well, we've said this is the NDP's election to lose, and they seem to be pursuing that track for some reason.
Yeah. Oh, I found a way to hide the comments. Awesome.
There we go. Good stuff.
So, but no, I think it's going to be important to continue the advocacy, like to get out the voter strategies, get involved in your community. If there's a candidate, I don't care who it is, but if there's a candidate that you truly, truly believe, because at the end of the day, we need to remember we are voting for who will be representing us at the legislature, and the party of the leader of that MLA will become premier. But first, do some homework over the holidays. Try to take a break because everybody's exhausted.
We're taking a break.
We are. I'm taking my first holiday off in 10 years. How wild is that?
Are you going anywhere fun, or is it the staycation?
It's a staycation.
That's still fun.
My husband's off this week. Yeah, the kids are in school and daycare, so we're gonna have naps, because that's gonna be great. I'm gonna go to the gym, but no, I would say take a little piece of paper and just write what matters to you. I would like, maybe we can start something on Twitter, a tag what matters to me, and put your 5 priorities. What do you want to see? What do you want to hear? What do you want to be heard on? I think it's important that we don't need to back up. We never need to back a party publicly. We never do. But we can speak out on the issues that matter to us. We can advocate through different organizations on the issues that matter to us. And at the end of the day, that's how you make a difference. Voting is super, super important, don't get me wrong, but the advocacy and try to convert. So we need to remember that there's about 25% undecided voters right now in the province. That will tip the scale and a lot of writing. So talk to your friends, talk to your families, talk to your teachers, talk to the nurses. Those poor doctors and those poor nurses are exhausted because it's almost been 3 years of chaos. I remember when I worked as a nurse during SARS, and we were lucky because it didn't last that long. I can't imagine doing 3 years of that. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. At the end of the day, just get vaccinated. It's not going to kill you. And by the way, everybody dies suddenly because the heart stops without giving warning. Just saying. I'm having issues with that too.
I saw the angry Caillou trying to make the death of somebody who has been struggling with cancer for 3 years died suddenly. Yeah. And
Jim Carr.
Don't be like
Jim
that.
Carr.
Don't be like that.
A wonderful minister, a wonderful MP, a wonderful person all around, community man. He's been battling cancer for the past 3 years. He was working a week ago, 2-3 days before he passed. He did not die suddenly. He died of cancer. I'm so tired of people just using, dude, you have a bachelor in political sciences. Stay in your goddamn lane. Here, I'm going to say it. We're trained healthcare workers. Stay in your lane. Good God. Trying to grift and make money on people dying is disgusting.
Hey, nice segue. You want to know something that's disgusting?
What?
I threw this up last night, and that's almost literally the right turn of phrase to use. We got a DM a little while ago from somebody who has been allegedly cataloging the tweets of political figures who are of some significance, and they claim that this tweet, unfortunately, this person's timeline has been purged from after this tweet was tweeted, but they claim that this tweet was authentic and real. I have no way of proving that, but since we had a little conversation about Chestermere Strathmore, since we had a conversation about Take Back Alberta, Sarah Biggs, do you remember the name of the director of Take Back Alberta?
David Parker.
Sure is. So we received this tweet. The text is simply,
"Oh, for fuck's sake!" Sorry.
There we go. We got the F-bomb. The text is simply,
okay, I'm gonna give $20 to the food bank for that.
This was apparently tweeted on April 4th. The image says that it was tweeted on April 4th, 2022 at 7:27 a.m. It was allegedly tweeted from the account at David J. PBA. The text is, "I love being white, and if you have a problem with that, I feel sorry for you."
And the hashtag is wrong.
Maybe he just really likes candles. I don't know, but
yeah, but what kind of human do you have to be waking up and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm so white today, it feels good"? Seriously, it's a goddamn embarrassment. People.
Yeah.
I hope. Here's my hope for 2023. I'm hoping that the people that have been duped by that organization, the communities that have been duped, will be able to be like, you know what? No, enough about racist stuff. Enough about dog whistling, about virtue signaling to anti-science and racism and everything in between, borderline anti-Semitism. Like, let's be honest here. I really hope that there's going to be an awakening in Alberta. It's okay to be conservative. I always say everybody's a little conservative. There's always a tiny little something somewhere that everybody's like, it's like everybody's a little bit of socialist because, we like healthcare. But here's my wish. I really hope that people will stop following trends and voting for someone because they have voted for the same thing for many, many years, just out of a habit. I hope, like I said, write 5 things on a piece of paper. What works for you? I really hope that people will do their homework this year. And, that's what I'm going to be focusing my efforts on. My personal efforts. I don't want to be involved in, I just can't. It has gone too far. And, communities make up for 52% of the province now. I have breaking news for David Parker. His color of skin is now the minority in the province. So, maybe he should just take a seat back and just... Nate, you look like you're struggling.
I'm just trying to follow up because I knew there was this one too, and I just want to share this little gem with you as well. Because, like I said, I have absolutely no way of verifying the authenticity of that tweet.
I think I heard about it earlier this summer. I think I heard about that tweet that you just showed earlier this summer.
Well, there you go. So maybe
thinking
that
about
was.
it.
But here's one that I literally, and the reason why I was looking all serious and junk was because I was literally putting this graphic together. It wouldn't be, it seems, terribly off-brand for Mr. Parker of Take Back Alberta to throw that up, because here's what he had to say about Michelle Rempel Garner. Never forget, Michelle Rempel is ashamed of the color of her skin and believes she exists in
I
a
remember
system
that one.
dominated by white maleness. This woman is not on our side of the culture war. Vote accordingly.
Yeah. So, David Parker's racist. Here, I said it.
Well,
Let me know if you
on the
want my
side of the
house
culture
address
war,
too.
for sure.
There's no. Who are you to this? Who is he to decide that there's a culture war? When we've been, who? How entitled do you have to be to decide that, yeah, no, we're going through a culture war because my whiteness is being affected? Somebody's listening to Jordan Peterson a little too much.
Well, here's what I'll say about the culture war. Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong. You are white, correct?
White?
Yes.
Yes, I'm. Yes.
You are wearing a Christmas sweater.
Yeah.
On a podcast hosted by a middle-aged white guy.
Yeah.
If we're talking about culture wars, so far we have white people wearing Christmas sweaters on a podcast with a guy, middle-aged white guy with a beard. I think Mr. Parker has nothing to worry about.
No, he does not. And we need to become allies. We need to stop fighting. I'm tired of it. Like, I was having lunch with Erica Eiffel. She's a journalist out of Ottawa. She's one of the journalists with Rachel Gilmore targeted by Diagolon. And we had lunch together on Friday. And, we're talking about things that we could do together in the future and all that. And she became a very dear friend. We met on Ryan Jesperson, actually, when we talked about the federal budget last year. But at the end of the day, we need to become allies. And we need to stop. Does anybody wants to raise their kid in that kind of bullshit? I don't.
But that's the thing. I think one of the big things that we have to be making sure that we're doing is as people who do have the ability to have podcasts or wear tacky Christmas sweaters without the holiday
use your platform.
Or on Christmas, folks, use your platform. That's all I'm saying. And everybody has one, even if you've got 40 followers on the Twitter machine. Those are 40 people that believe that you're worth paying attention to. And if you call out the abusive journalists, if you call out the open racism, if you call out the homophobia, that matters, because there's two pieces to it. First of all, you're saying this isn't acceptable, not on my watch. Second of all, there is a chance that somebody who's experiencing the bigotry is going to see that and go, hey, maybe I'm not quite as alone as I felt.
I lived the racism from those guys this summer. I really did. I had to fight back. I had to be loud. I had to comfort my candidate. I had to be strong for her and her family. I had to show that I was not bothered by it. Let me tell you, it's exhausting. It takes its toll, but we cannot stop. What I have seen this summer, my friends, is disgusting. Sarah Allard, when I went to record, I was invited to be on her podcast. It was some DSA from the women thing, the one that finished third.
how to advance women in.
Yeah, and then a page on white supremacy, tie wrapped on her door. I've seen. I don't want to go through what I personally went through last summer ever again. And if I have to be louder so people understand, so I can use, because I'm very white, I'm fortunate. I have, I have a roof over my head. I have everything I could want, then some. I have money in the bank. I'm very, very fortunate. use your voice for good. Don't use your voice to spread hate. And if you can, and if you have time, fuck. Like, what are we doing, guys? What are we doing? There's nothing just being just a little racist. It's like, you can't just be a little bit pregnant. It doesn't exist. You're racist or you're not. You're intolerant or you're not. We're saying right now the premier is hesitant about giving money to Campus Saint-Jean in Edmonton. Why? Why? Because they're French? Why? Because they're not studying
Which is
English?
weird, because given
Why?
how
Because
much she wants to be just like Quebec, you'd think she'd be embracing a French school.
It's funny because the other day I received, I was born in Quebec. My first language is French. I received a email from Stats Canada being like, hey, can you fill that survey? And it's a survey about minorities. I was like, what? In the eyes of the government, I'm seen as a minority. But I'm not.
In Alberta.
I'm not. I'm perfect in Alberta. But I'm not. I have an English name. My kids speak English. I'm married to an Alberta. Just do what's right, guys. Oh, I do. I'm very, very good at swearing. So now, here's my commitment. If I swear too much, I'm going to have a cap of 5 times per episode. And if I go over that, for every F-bomb I'm going to throw, I'm going to give $5 to the food bank.
Oh, now I've got a game. Now I can see how much I can make you swear. That'll be fun.
But I just hope that we wake up next year and that we stop pandering to those guys. Because those guys are master manipulators. They will go after vulnerable individuals to try to gain traction. And they tried to take over Calgary. Didn't work. But they're trying to take over everything else. So even if you're conservative, you should not be okay with it.
I'm going to read a comment. I'm not going to read the comment because I don't want to embarrass anyone. But I am going to say somebody in the comments is currently making the arguments that just because there's racists and bigots and homophobes in the UCP doesn't make the UCP racist or bigoted or homophobic, and it doesn't make the leadership of the UCP racist or bigoted or homophobic. No, I'm going to do a thing here, because here's the bottom line. If you're in a leadership role in an organization and you're aware that that shit exists, if you are not openly condemning it, you're allowing it. So you can say all you want that, I've never heard Danielle Smith say something overtly racist. Oh, wait. Yes, I have, about Indigenous people all the fucking time. But let's ignore that one. That's not real racism.
Oh, can I point to the example where she went after Leela this summer during the Fort McMurray debate when she went off about immigration?
But here's the thing. Even if you pretend that Danielle Smith hasn't definitely said some very ignorant, beneath the office of the premier things, even if you pretend that she didn't try to use her Cherokee heritage as a shield for a controversy, the bottom line is, if you don't openly condemn the behavior that's happening inside of your house, you're allowing it. And the UCP is her house. Y'all elected her. Y'all voted her in. Y'all are setting the tone. That's like saying if you're just standing beside someone who's holding a Nazi flag, you're not a Nazi. If you're not taking down the Nazi flag, you're allowing it to be up there. And especially if you're in a position of leadership, if you know that these elements are in your party and you're not openly condemning them, you are enabling them.
And that's why I'm saying use your voice. If you're part of that party and you're not racist, use your voice. Speak up. Demand better. Ask for better.
It's true, though. Sarah Beggs?
Be the change.
It's true. Anything you want people to, we're going to take a break. We're going to be coming back on Wednesday. I think it's the 28th. And the goal is we're going to have us a panel discussion. So if anybody wants to, if anybody has anybody that they'd like to see on the show, tell them to send us a DM, because I think we can have up to 10 people on this thing. And I would love to see how chaotic that we could make things. But anything you think people should be paying attention for in the Alberta politics realm over the next week and a half, or are we safe for 10 days?
Who the fuck knows? Like, we're gonna go through a whole hello. Somebody's gonna try to start on the Aloha Gate again. That's gonna be a thing. No, last week I was hoping for a quiet week. It's nobody cares. Like, it's over. It's so, but somebody somewhere is gonna try because. Ooh, principles.
Yeah, there's none.
Anyways,
of those.
No. So, no, I'm really hoping that it's going to die down. I'm hoping that kids will be safe, and I'm hoping that last week of school, kids will not, bring RSV of COVID in the dinner table at Christmas for Grandma and Grandpa. That's really what I'm trying to, it's our first Christmas. It's not back to normal. Nothing's back to normal yet. But it's our first Christmas where we're allowed to be like really normal. Everybody's vaccinated 3-4 times. We have tests. We have the resources. We are able to spend quality time together. Just enjoy your family. Ignore the government. We'll reconvene on January 2nd because everybody needs a break. Because, guys, the next 6 months will be knuckle dragging, and it's going to be exhausting. And the battleground is Calgary. And if you guys want to see something happen, something needs to happen. And that will take energy and involvement. And I'm not saying dollars. But if you can give, no matter who the party you go for, or,
when the weather gets nice, door knocking,
preferably not TBA. Door knocking, go knock doors.
It's so important. It's one of the biggest things that makes a difference in an election, and candidates are always. I've never not once seen a political candidate say, you know what I've got too many of? There's just too many door knockers. I've got too many people who want to go out and spread the. So frustrating. That never happens.
The first time I door knocked in Calgary was with Anna Gainey. She was the president of the Liberal Party, and her father knew my father. Her father was Bob Gainey, the hockey player. Anyways, it's kind of hockey stuff in Montreal. It's like religion, right? Everybody's like, ooh, hockey. But everybody, like, just starve off, take back Alberta, get involved into something more sane and reasonable. You don't have to be involved with a party. Just go advocate for an organization that will be allowing to give you a voice. Let's go with that. But let's take a break. Let's take a real break. I'm hoping nothing crazy is going to happen this week.
There we go.
I'm
going to ask you for an early prediction, because I just got a text message saying progressive UCP members are saying that the party is not only on track to lose the election, but also likely to split again. Last time it was due to the corruption of the PCs. This time it is due to the far right swing of rural riding. Sarah Biggs, one last question for you before we call it a night and get ready for the full-on silly season.
We got the same text.
Are we going to split?
I got the same text as you.
There we go.
Probably. Well, you and I got the same person texting us. That's fascinating.
Well,
it could have happened. But it's like there's no room for progressives anymore. There's no room. It's gone. They killed it.
India is what
they're not
about.
Yeah. They're not willing to listen to anyone. They're not willing to. This summer we asked for a meeting with the Smith campaign, and we were too liberal red for them, which is fascinating. We'll see. But just let's do better, shall we?
I'm going to agree with Sarah Biggs.
Let's try to create some. Yeah.
Take the next week,
create something
week and a
for
half.
us.
Enjoy some time away.
Yeah.
But I would also highly recommend, and I don't just say this because it's the show that I host, but we just dropped an episode this morning where we had a conversation with an amazing Lisa Young. She is a doctor of political science. She teaches at the University of Calgary. We went through all of the issues with her, and it was it's like one of my top 5 in interviews of the last year, because we hit some heavy material, but we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of laughs. And if you want to hear an incredibly well-informed person who's speaking from a place of deep knowledge, break down the dumpster fire, I'm going to read, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to read the endorsement that we got. And I take this as high compliment because I'm the annoying student in this tweet, I think. Dr. Dwayne Bratt tweeted out, if you've never been in a class with Lisa Young, at J. Lisa Young, this is close to it, filled with political science concepts and explanatory anecdotes, informative and entertaining. Also includes the annoying student in the front row who keeps asking questions. I usually sat in the back, is all I'm saying. So I've graduated to the front row. I'll take it.
Funny story. I was asked to write something about Dr. Young on how she influenced me for something. So I was very, very honored.
There we go.
She's fantastic. Go listen to it. She's a gem.
You know what? I would even say that's one to watch on the YouTube machine or the Facebook machine, because the nuance of expression that goes on in some of the things that Dr. Young says are so good. Like and subscribe, as the kids say. I'm gonna round it out. I got some sappy things that I'm gonna say next Wednesday because I got some sappy feelings in this dried up crust of a heart of mine. But I want to just, I do. I want to just quickly say to Sarah Biggs, thank you so much for the tag in tonight. As always, love the perspective, love being told how I'm wrong about things, because I get to be less wrong in the future. I do want to say real quick to all of the people who are listening tonight, a big thank you for listening and hanging around. It is very much appreciated. We got to get folks talking again, though. We haven't had people raising their hand in the Twitter Spaces, and I came up with this big complex thing to make sure that the two things could talk. So if you're next Wednesday, it's going to be an open floor, pretty much. I don't even think we're going to have any topics we're bringing to the table. But if you have some thoughts on the last year of Alberta politics, we would love to hear from you, whether it's through the Twitter Spaces or the very active comment section. Thank you to everybody in the comments tonight. I also want to say, of course, a big thank you to everybody who is supporting us on our Patreon page. There were some perks that went out, some good stuff. People are getting some holiday cheer in the mail over the next little bit, whenever Canada Post gets it to them. But I want to say a big thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. If you have the means and you appreciate the kind of content that we're trying to produce here, we'd love nothing more than if you signed up to be one of our elite Patreon supporters at www.patreon.com/thebreakdownab, where for just the price of a cup of coffee, you can help us continue to push this giant boulder up the hill. So thank you to everybody who's supporting us there. Thank you to everybody who shares the stuff, who's watching the live streams. We will be back December 28th with some sort of end of year holiday extravaganza. We've got some names that we're already kicking around. It's going to be good. So until then, whatever holidays that you observe, I hope they're great. And in the meantime, take some time for yourselves, take care of each other, And most importantly, as always, keep the conversation going.